Hello folks, hello. An energy drink this morning. It's still on my desk. I'm still drinking it because it tastes terrible. This triple shot energy, I don't know what the hell. Tastes like whiskey. Both out the, If I was drinking whiskey while writing, I probably wouldn't be able to, do much coherently. But let's see. Wizard got back on his feet and saw those Jade been shooting at him had vanished behind some nearby buildings. They apparently didn't want to continue the fight. They left behind a bunch of dead men. 10 of them. 8 of them, the victims of the 50 cal. 8 is right? Is 8 right? I gotta check that myself. There's no one else to check it. I was wondered how many of them, of the men he killed here, were former comrades. He didn't recognize the Jade. The Jade he plugged with the... popped with the... What did he find? Because I didn't feel much guilt about killing his fellow Jade. These Jade were terrorists. Got to check on terrorist. Word terrorist, quite a word. Or terrorist. They should have quit the war when Wizard did. There was no point continuing. This is gonna have some pop. Is this series gonna have some postmodern ending where none of it mattered and all that fighting was for nothing? Probably not. I think I'd have to get really, really depressed to write an ending like that. I believe that sacrifice means something. When someone gives their life to save their comrades, you know? Or to save the world. It means something. It doesn't mean nothing. Let's see. There's no point in continuing. Wizard had been offered the chance to join the underground. Join the underground about a year after the war ended. He was just sitting in some bar. His old comrade came up and suggested he join. Like it was a common thing to ask somebody if they wanted to join a terrorist cause. Wizard declined, and supposed he was lucky, and the guy just dropped the statement, like, just dropped the conversation, like it had, Wizard started talking about something very uncomfortable. Wizard supposed he was lucky, since a lot of guys who were approached but rejected the offer got murdered by the underground. It was something that Wizard imagined the terrorists, the underground itself didn't like to talk about. It's probably an old shame. Wizard doubt they'd have much luck recruiting when this latest uprising of theirs failed spectacularly. Wizard checked on the Jeep again. Those men hanging if any of those men hanging out of it were secretly alive before, they definitely weren't now. With the Jeep, with the front of the Jeep all torn up and burning, along with the men inside. The men were impossible to identify in their current condition. Seeing those rude faces made Wizza think of a mask, of wearing a mask. Maybe he'd avoid a friendly bullet if he put one on. He checked on the dead man, the dead Jade closest to him. He found a mesh balaclava, which he slid on and found a good fit. Was it supposed from a distance he would now look kind of Zedden. Let's see, Carnage. Lots of Carnage. Ten minutes later, Wizza was close to there. Wizza was dragging wounded men out of the back of a crashed truck loaded with bullet holes. It was too late for the drivers, but the driver up front. But there were, and a few other people, lots of other people. But he found a dozen men alive and capable of, alive and not mortally wounded. At least if they got treatment in time. Wizza found a first aid kit at the back of the bus. It was still truck, not bus. I sometimes get trucks and buses confused. They're two totally different vehicles. I wonder which came first. Probably the truck. I think the technology you need to make a bus, you have to get from trucks first. Or cars. Of course cars came first. They were the original. But I mean, I think you go from car to truck to bus. And then what comes after a bus? I don't know. A Jeep? Those armored vehicles that they had, that they used a lot of World War II, armored cars. I think those came first, and then you got tanks. So from the car to the tank, it was still functional. It was still useful with a bullet through it. Wizza snapped out. Wizza got six guys out the back. The last of whom was just unconscious from a head injury. Head injuries were nothing to sneeze at. Wizza knew plenty of guys, a few guys in the war, who died of things like that. Yeah. Banged their head on something, then something went wrong in their head. And hours later, and they were done. Wizza didn't think this guy would die. The last guy would die. He would die of a head injury. Wizza left him. Wizza tried to slap him awake because he heard that. Slap him awake. He heard somewhere that sleeping wasn't good for somebody head injury to sleep. Might slip into a coma. Or worse. Come on, fella. Wake up a little. Wizza muttered. He said that in English. Which, when he realized that he was speaking in a Jade tongue. Did I say he was able to speak Jade? Might be a plot hole. No one spontaneously learns English, even in a crisis. The man didn't stir. Wizza heard saw some Jade off in the distance, coming towards the wrecked truck. Let's see. Just giving myself some notes here. Coming towards the wrecked truck. They numbered 3. Wizza got down and prone about the underside of the truck and started squeezing off bursts. He didn't get any by first few volleys, but after they dove into prone, imagine nail one about the forehead, causing him to roll over on a still living comrade. Living comrade pushed the fresh corpse off, squeezed off 2 shots, a long volley with his AK. It tore up the truck above Wizza, but didn't get him. Wizza fired off 2 more bursts, nailing the second Jade about through the head, the face. He slumped forward. Blood spraying for his AK, smoking AK. I left the last Jade, who was wearing a balaclava. Phil squeezed off 2 bursts. Phil squeezed off 2 bursts with his own rifle, E1B. Then he clicked empty. I need to get more noodle bowls. My breakfast selection is getting a bit limited lately. Can't believe the stupid Sam's Club ran out of noodle bowls. How could they do that? How could they run out of such basic things? Just a noodle bowl. Who doesn't get a noodle bowl? Frickin' jerks. Let's see. The 2 bursts went and clicked empty. While he was reloading, Wizza nailed him to the right shoulder. And he writhed to lay on his backside. Wizza's final volley. Final 3 rounds in his mag. Hit the Jade through the top of his head. Likely. Let's see. Damn. Distance. 10 meter off. Himself. Likely passed through most of his body. Not much resistance. What a waste. There's a mutter to himself. he reloaded. Was it suppose the only way Wizza could see this carnage being worth this, all this. Let's see. The only way Wizza could see this carnage having any value was if it prevented another big war with the Jade Empire. Jade War. Wizza would have sided with the Jade. Whereas that instance, such a war. It was done following. It was fond of democracy and having human rights. The Jade Empire was moderate police state, even in its most lenient years during the build-up before the war. Even then, there were arrests by the secret police on a regular basis, and the prisons and in the cities with the prisons, you could always hear executions of disloyal Jade citizens in their courtyards. The shootings there, the executions, things went on every night till finally the Jade Empire surrendered. Executions. These days, only war criminals ended up shot in Jade prisons. Is this consistent? Did I say they were authoritarian? In South Korea, South Korea was led by a dictatorship pretty much in the years before World War. I mean, in the years before, during, and after the Korean War. For a while, it was hard to say which was better off to live under, but, you know, after the dictatorship ended, things in South Korea got a lot better, and now the difference between North and South Korea is night and day. Probably would have happened if we had won Vietnam, or it just ended up a stalemate. Today, Vietnam, I don't know much about modern Vietnam. If it's, Westerners go there a lot, and I don't hear about people getting arrested or brutalized. Are they a capitalist society again? I don't know. It's messed up how it goes with these communist countries. They have the big war, the revolution, utopia justifies the means, re-education camps, all that stuff. And then gradually they go broke, and then they open up market reforms, and then, you know, next thing you know, they're capitalist, mostly. Such a waste. We all went back to the same place, and in the end, you know, full circle. What do they say about capitalism? That it's the worst system besides all the other ones? Let's see. Wizza came back, dragged a few more useful. Should write a book. I should get all this political stuff out of my system. Just write about why I hate communism so much. Let's see. Wizza dragged a few more. Guess if I really wanted to, I could have made the communists the bad guys of this alternate World War II. And that would have been fine to me, but, you know, I still... can Can you have the bad guy, the Russians, the communists as the bad guys without making and have Germany seem like less of a thing, like Nazism and fascism? Fascists did start World War II. I'm not sure if you call the Japanese fascist. They were imperialistic. They kind of started World War II if you go by like the earliest date, like when they invaded China in 1937. Of course, there was some fighting before that, like when Japan, they got there. They seized a large chunk of China, Chinese wilderness, and called that Manchukuo, and had a puppet Chinese ruler, and it had pretty much no legitimacy. And that's the way puppet regimes usually are. They're very unpopular, and they have no legitimacy because they're propped up by a foreign power. U.S. had some trouble with that during Vietnam and whatnot, because, they looked at the South Vietnamese government as corrupt puppets of the Americans. And that probably wasn't far from the truth. They also did a lot of vote rigging in Europe after World War II, because if they didn't do that, then the communists would have taken over France and Italy legitimately, because, there was a lot of positive press for the communists back then for defeating fascism, and there were major communist fronts in Italy, Spain, France. Dragged a few more wounded men out of the bus, out of the truck. Them looked very unhappy when he saw that Wizza had Jade had gray skin and golden eyes. Leave me alone. Slur. I forgot the name. Gonk. Yeah. Leave me alone, Gonk. The Zen soldier leaves. Their cough. I can save myself. I'm one of you guys, right? Wizza asked. How does it matter? I wouldn't be in this mess. Mess if not for you. Your people. Zen soldier. Like, just shut up and stop struggling. Wizza said, I got other people on this bus. Check on this truck. Wizza was surprised. Got the guy on the floor outside, putting him alongside other wounded. Wizza checked on the wounded, and suddenly, that fellow with the hand injury woke right up. He sat up like some vampire in a horror movie. Big little gasp from Wizza. The fellow then rubbed his head, and he winced when he looked around, like he had something in his eyes. Can you see? Wizza asked. He knew that sometimes people went blind from head injuries, sometimes temporarily, sometimes not. Are you hurt? Got a bit of a headache, but I think I'm alright. Zedin muttered. And then he noticed the wounded around him. Jeez. Let me at these people. These guys. Damn it, what was that? Ah, stupid computer. G's. I gotta change G's, I think, because G's is like short for Jesus, I think. I'm pretty sure that's where it came from. And Jesus doesn't exist in this universe. I'm pretty sure most people in our world historically believe Jesus existed. If he was the Son of God, that's something to debate about. But yeah, he at least existed, and that's a plus in his column, you know. We got, if there's, who knows the real story, though, you know. I guess I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to get into a big philosophical thing. Nice. The Zedin got up and Satan. It's a little too close to Satan. I think it might actually be the word for Satan. Or, you know, I think I said in one story is a Japanese name, and I thought it was funny that they had a name so close to Satan. Probably not pronounced like that. Got up and went for the medical kit. Kit that was had partly emptied. Alright. If it was a box of chocolates, most of the good stuff in it would have been gone already. You a medic? Was I asked? Yeah. Yeah, that's my specialty. Zedin replied. Get a Red Cross brassard on, if you got it, Wiza suggested. And okay, Zedin replied. But after I give everyone a look over, if you can find another kit, that'd be very useful. Right. Wiza replied. Wiza got in the truck again. Finding everybody else on board was dead. After checking the front seat for signs of life and failing to, Wiza ran off in the area to try to find a medical kit. We found a couple in some building, and came back quickly. He half expected to find everybody killed in that short time, but most of them were alive. They rifles, and those healthy enough to arm themselves had weapons in hand. They laid in prone, aiming at distant enemy that thankfully didn't notice them. Thanks for saving us, one of the men said. Wounded men said to the medic. Got Red Cross brassard on if you got it with assist, yeah. They are obeying that rule. The rules of war. At least when it comes to medics. Are they shooting medics? Is there anything more scummy than shooting medics in a war? Maybe killing women and children, or rape. But yeah, shooting medics is really disgraceful behavior. So you got a Red Cross brassard. Get a Red Cross brassard on if you have it. They're obeying the rules of law. At least when it comes to medics. Okay, okay. But after I get everyone to look over, we'll find another kit. That'd be very useful, right? Yeah. I didn't save you guys. Medic replied. The Jade fellow in the mask. He saved you guys. He dragged you all out. Really? Oh, the soldier's ass. Sounding like it was some impossibility. Boys, I didn't care if they believed the medic or not. He had a lot more people to save. Elsewhere. Nah. Courtyard. Elsewhere. In the front yard. Okay, folks, signing off here, folks. Have a nice day. Have a nice day, folks.